Have you ever wondered if there's something more out there other than Cura as your slicing software? Well, I'm here to tell you that there is. And if you watched last week's program, we're building on that. And today we're taking a look at MatterControl, so stick around. Hey, I'm Richard with TheFirstLayer, and on this channel we do 3D printing tutorials, reviews, and live streaming videos to help you get the most out of your 3D printer. If that's something that you're into, then please go ahead, hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell so you get notified whenever we put up future content. All right, let's dive in to our session for today. Today we're taking a look at a program called MatterControl from MatterHackers. Now, this is a software that is not only a slicer, but also a bare minimum modeler software as well. Let's jump over to the software and we'll show you what I mean. Okay, so when we first open up MatterControl after you've installed it, and I'll leave a link down in the description below so you can go ahead and get MatterControl for yourself. There are two versions of MatterControl, the free version and the pro version. The pro version is a subscription that will cost you every year, but the free version has everything that you're going to need for general 3D printing. So when we first open, we are greeted by the MatterControl Welcome to MatterControl tutorial. Now you can turn this on or off, but we're just going to go through it really quickly so that we can see exactly what's going on. So we're going to hit next, and of course we open up to this file, or we open up to this little dialog box right here, and it shows us where our open files box or folder is. So this will add parts from your hard drive to the bed. And then we'll just click next. And over here we have a way of searching. You can enter a query to search MatterControl. Then of course we have your primitive shapes. We're going to talk a little bit about these as we go along. This is a way that you can go ahead and start modeling. We also have our library here. You can add content from MatterHackers and a whole lot more. This is your print button. You'll click here to start your print, of course, if you're connected. And then we have hot end control, so you can, if you're connected to your printer via your computer through a USB cable, then you're going to be able to control the printer right from inside MatterControl, much like you can do with other programs like Cura and so on. So your printer's hot end controls are here. You can set your temperature, materials, and load and unload filament here. You also have some view options. You can reset the view, change viewing modes, hide and show the bed, and adjust the grid snap. Now we've got a cube here that you can move in three-dimensional space to move your build plate around. Over here we have the application menu. Here's where you can find the application settings, help documents, updates, and a whole lot more. And the very last one is right down here at the bottom. You can go ahead and change the theme. Now we're not going to do any of that. We just want to see the interface because I want to start at the top and take you through. So the first tab that you can have is called Upgrade, and this is going to give you sort of a brief summary of what is available to you. So you can download the Pro Edition if you want to pay the $200 and change for the yearly license. It opens up a few more things, but it's not really necessary unless you really have to have those Pro controls. Next you're going to find is your library. Here you can have your design apps, your downloads, your history, your library, your printers, and again all of those shapes that we were talking about a little bit earlier. In the hardware panel, this is where you're going to add and remove new printers. So in this case we have right now an Ender 3 and a Mingda 2. You can see that the Mingda is not got any little symbol here. That's because we had to add it separately, and I'm going to show you that in just a few minutes. Now below materials we have nothing that we've added there. If you want to add a printer, you're just going to hit the plus button. You're going to try and find your printer in this sea of printers that are here. You can see there's all kinds of them. If you wanted to go ahead and add another printer, in this case let's just go ahead and add a Creality printer. So we'll just go down, we'll find Creality, we'll open up that dialog box, and you can see that we've got the Ender 3, the CR-20 Pro 20, the 10S5, the 10S4, the 10S, and the 10 Mini. I have a 10S, so we're going to add a 10S, and you can see it shows a little thing here. Then we can go to next, and you'll get this. If you don't have your printer connected to your computer, you can just go ahead and continue past this. and we're not going to bother. We're going to cancel out of that, so we don't need to connect to the actual printer. So you can use this independently and then just transfer over your files with the SD card, or you can go ahead and attach it to a cable, and that's where you would do that, is in that connection. So it's pretty easy to get up and running on this program. So let's first start over here let's upload a file, or download a file in this case. So we are going to go to our scratch disk, because I know we've got some files there. Let's grab the always popular Benchy. We're going to go ahead and put that right on the build plate. Now, by moving your scroll wheel in and out, the center wheel on your mouse, you can scroll in and out on the build plate. We can see that we've got a 300 by 300 build plate here. So if we wanted to, we could go ahead and scale this up. What we want to do is we want to go to the scale option, which is right here, and we'll click that. We'll click our model, and right now this is what it is saying. We can use percentage. I like to use percentage, so we're going to go 200%. We'll hit the tab button, and you'll see that all of them have changed. If you want to just maintain or just use the proportions, and you want to put this in yourself, you can obviously go ahead and do that. It will go ahead and change things for you, or you can scale about differences on all of those. Now you can also color the model if you want to. We're not going to bother, but here now we've set the scale to 200%, so we can see we have a much bigger Benchy on the bed. Now, the other thing that we usually want to do is we want to arrange our models. So we're going to go to this little tab up here, this little icon. This is arrange all models. You can see now it's put it into the center of our bed. Now, the other thing that we can do if we really wanted to is we can duplicate this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's say we wanted 4 different Benchies, but now we've got to arrange them. If we were going to go ahead and arrange them by hand, we could, but that takes a lot of time. The best way to do this is just hit that arrange button, and now we can see that we've got all of those Benchies on there. And if we just rotate around, by using the right mouse button on your mouse, you will be able to rotate around and see exactly where all your models are. Now, if you want to go back to the home, you just do that, and it's going to take you right back to its home position. So we don't need all of these Benchies, so we can either group them together by drawing a box around them and hitting delete, or we can do them individually by holding down the control key and just clicking on each of the individual models. So let's go ahead and set this one back up for the center of the bed. Now, usually we're going to want to look at our parameters. So we're going to go over to our slicer settings now. There is different qualities here. We have a coarse, a fine, and a standard. Now, there are only 3 here. You can make up your own if you so choose. We're going to just leave it at standard for now. And the material, we're going to say this is going to be PLA. So now it's going to populate everything that we need to know down here for doing our 3D print. So first and foremost, let's check that layer thickness. Now we've got that at standard, so it is 0.2 at standard. Now if we went to fine, let's just go to fine for a second. On a Creality machine, we know that it goes up in multiples of 0.4. So all of your layer heights, every time your layer changes, it's multiples of 0.04. So at 0.1, this is going to give us a really fine print, but it's not the right amount of layers. So you may find an under extruded layer or an over extruded layer in some cases. So we're just going to add a 2 to that to make sure that we get the best print possible. Our first layer thickness is going to be 0.2, which is just fine. Our perimeters, we're going to use 3. This is a count or millimeters. Now, based on our nozzle width, that's where this plays a big factor. So our first layer thickness, or pardon me, our perimeters are 3. So we know that our thickness is 0.0 or 0.4 because we're using a 0.4 nozzle. So 3 times 4 is 12. So this actually should be 1.2 as opposed to 3. Now, unlike Cura will change this number for you. This does not do that so far as I know, but you know, it is what it is. So the bottom solid layers, 0.8. So basically that's just giving us 2 bottom solid layers. No, pardon me. It's going to be 4 of these, I believe. No, 5 of these. 6 of these. Yes, whatever our layer thickness is. I can't do math today. I don't know why. But now we're going to get our bottom solid layers, our infill density. In something like a bench, we may want to change this down to 10%. And these are the different patterns that they have. Now you can see they've got grid, triangles, hexagon, gyroid, lines, and concentric. For something like this, I prefer gyroid because it does give you a much better infill and uses less plastic. Now our layers, our surface layers, and our maximum ratio is 3%. We don't really have to learn a lot about this because we don't mess around with this too much. Let's move on to speed. Now, for the case of our CR-10S, I have my speed set at 45. I have my outer perimeters at 30% of that. So when it's doing the outer perimeters, it's slowing down to give me a nice, decent amount of flow. And then we're not going to worry about the perimeter acceleration or the default acceleration because we really don't have to. We're going to let the printer take over in that instance. Now the next thing we can go to is adhesion. Do we want to create a skirt, a raft, or a brim? If we are going to replace the skirt, and let's say we want to do a brim, we can go ahead and do that brim. And this is where you're going to tell it how far out you want that brim to be. It's not unlike Cura where it tells you exactly how many lines. This is just giving you a distance, okay? And then we go on to support. Support is pretty simple. If you want to create support, then you can actually go ahead and do that. You're going to go down here to automatic. Just turn on automatic. And if you want to generate them everywhere, it will. If you don't want to generate them everywhere, it will only generate from the build plate. So in the case of a bench, we don't usually turn that on. Now, as far as our filament goes, this is where you're going to be able to adjust the temperatures. Now, the filament we've been using lately is the Matter 3D filament from Matter 3D here in Canada. And at 210 degrees, that's where we found it prints the best. And our bed is right around 60, 65. I usually change that to 65. We're going to enable a fan because we're using PLA. And we're going to enable retraction, but we're not going to do a lot of retraction. Now, there are some advanced features down here that you can go ahead and use, but we're not too worried about those today. Now, if we were connected to the printer, we could hit the controls, and you can see here there's movement areas where we could move the head back and forth. We could calibrate, we could do a printer calibration and all kinds of stuff right out of MatterControl. And then, of course, here are our features and general information about the CR-10S. This is the baud rate that we're going to communicate at. We are going to pick a COM port. We don't have one connected today, so we're not going to check one off. But we can see here that our bed size is 300 by 300. Our print center is at 150 by 150, and our build height is 400. It's considered a rectangular shape. If we go over features, we have a 3-point plane for bed leveling. If we didn't have a automatic bed leveler on it, this is where we would do a little bit of tweaking. If you do have a bed leveler, you're going to want to make sure that require printing or leveling to print. So this is going to give us a 3-point plane. This is going to give us a 3x3 mesh. So again, that's our mesh controls. So that's when that probe comes down if you've got a auto bed leveler like the BL Touch. And the firmware type is going to be Marlin. That's where we would change that. And there's a whole bunch of different parameters that you can change in here as well. You don't want to mess with this too much if you don't have to. And chances are you're not going to look at this very much anyway. And then you've got your start and your end G code. If you were going to change anything, you would do it here in the start and end G code. All right. So let's get out of that. Let's go back to our slice settings. Let's talk a little bit more about what we've got going on here. All right, so here's where we actually brought in our content. This is going to be how we export that content once we've got it sliced. Of course, there's open file, there's save file, there's your redo and undo buttons, our arrange all parts. You can lay it flat, you can group them, you can ungroup them, duplicate, remove, generate supports, and a whole lot more up there. Let's go ahead and click on our model. We're going to go up here to where it says slice. And it says a fill density error. This is a nice feature about this because it tells us exactly the problem that we're going to have. And it says the fill density must be between 0 and 1. Location of fill density settings is in the slice, advanced, general, and fill density. So let's go over there to the fill density. We'll close this for now. So I've got a red line here. So this is where you see, now I found it. See where I've got the little icon right here that looks like an exclamation point? This has to be 1. Now if I hit enter, that red line is going to go away. So that's how you find things. We don't know where everything is either. Remember, I don't use this program very often. I've learned a little bit about it so that I can teach you what I've learned and that you can go ahead and try this for yourself. Now there's a few other things up here that we can do, but that's a little bit beyond the scope of what we're going to do today. So now we can go ahead, slice this model. It is slicing. We've got no errors. And it takes just a couple of seconds. And now it's writing the layers. And once it's written the layers, we can go ahead and export that to our SD card, send it to the printer, and start printing. So I'm going to encourage you to download this program. Try it out for yourself. Before we do go on to anything else, we are going to click on this little plus button and we're going to create a new design. If you wanted to make your own designs, you could do so. So you could, let's say, bring in a little cube there or a little cylinder. Oh, that's a little too small. I want to make that taller. So I'm going to make it taller. I'm going to make it a little fatter. So there we go. So it's a little taller and a little fatter. And I could take this one right here and drag it over, put it in there and say, wow, that's kind of cool. Now I've got what looks like a little boot for a character maybe I want to make. So there are some things that you can do in here. You can drag in the MatterControl or the MatterControl logo or MatterHackers logo. There's a couple of arrows you can bring in. What's this one say? This one says text, so you can actually do text in here. There's all kinds of things. I want you to explore this and I want you to try this out for yourself to see if it's something that might be right for you. MatterControl is a very powerful little program to try out. If you are a Cura user, you may find it easy to port over. If you wanted to build your own profile, let's go ahead and do that. So we are going to go up to MatterControl. We are going to go into settings. Let's look at the settings really quickly here. You can see that we can change the theme if we want. We can change colors. There's all kinds of things that we can do there. Right now, we want to go ahead and add another printer. So we're going to just close out of the things that we've done here. And we want to start from scratch. So again, we have to go into that hardware tab. And in this case, we are doing a custom. So this is going to be a custom. Let's see if we can find a custom one in there. It does not look like we have custom in there. So we don't have Mingda in there either. So we're going to go up to the top here. You can also use one of these as a base for your 3D printer. We are just going to do 3D Factory. How's that? We're going to call this Mingda Rock 3. All right. So now we're going to, instead of hitting next, we're going to define the new printer. And we know that on this one, it is 320 by 320. Our build height is 400. We are going to use a standard nozzle diameter here of 0.4. We can change it if we had a different nozzle on it. And we are going to use the filament diameter as 1.75. We are on rectangular. It has a heated bed, so we want to make sure that that is checked off. And that is all there is to it. So now it says custom printer, and we are ready to go. And we can see our build plate is right there. And we can go ahead and start doing what we want to do. One thing that you may find a little different on this one is that you may have different start and end G code. So in this case, our start G code is G28, and our end G code basically is just telling you to turn everything off when it's done. So turn off the heaters and disable the motors and shut down the fans and all that kind of nice stuff. So those are things that you can do with this program. It's very useful. Try it out for yourself. See what kind of prints that you get. And we are going to see you in the next one when we talk about Prusa Slicer. That's up next in our series of free beginner 3D printing softwares. So there you have it. That's all there is to MatterControl from Matter Hackers. Go ahead, download it for free. There is a link down below for you to download it and try it for yourself. See if you like it better than Cura. See if it suits your needs. That's what this whole series is about, is showing you alternatives to Cura where you don't have to fork out any money for them. So like I said, next week we're going to be looking at Prusa Slicer. We're going to take a little bit of a dive into that. Basically, we're going to go into the basics. Later on, we're going to compare these feature to feature to the one that we mostly use, which is Cura. So if you got some value out of today's video, I'd really appreciate it if you left a comment down below. Also hit that like button so we know that you had a watch of the video. Also, if you are new here, welcome. Thanks for sticking around, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and always hit that bell so you get notified every time that we do a brand new episode. We've got some more episodes right over here for you to check out, so I would appreciate if you went and checked out one of those videos if you want a little bit more information, let's say about Cura or making a temperature tower or anything like that. And we will see you next time right here on The First Layer. Until that time, remember that The First Layer is your foundation to a great print. All right.